I'm going to paint the background first, so in reverse, in the same sort of way, and then we'll put the figures in afterwards. Something that you can stop on, so I've got to keep working at this very rapidly. Windows and whatever. Could be using a square brush now, but I haven't got time to change around. Nor do I wish to. I just want to indicate all these things in. That one for a little study. Now we'll work straight through again. This time we're going to work from the figures and while they're still wet. Work directly into the background. So again, I'm going to make up some darks first. Again, I don't think I need to do much more. It's nice and loose, it's nice and lively. We could put more on, but I don't think I need to. I'm not going to do a wet day, I'm not going to put all the reflections and things in. All I want is just this feeling of shape and light. So there we are, very loose ways to paint. Nighttime scenes in Egypt, the figures, the watercolour, the atmosphere, the mood.
The sea is crystal clear and swimming is very safe, with very few dangers. There are the obvious things like lionfish and corals and so on, which you'd be aware of anyway, but just normally swimming in the sea, walking on the sand, as here, you've no problems. There are very few other precautions to take really, apart from the usual security ones. I've mentioned bottled water, but of course you'll need a good strong suntan lotion. And although at that time of year I didn't find any problem with mosquitoes only having 1 or 2 bites, you may want to take an insect repellent as well, and it is advisable to have one of those electric ones to plug into your rooms to keep them out at night, although in fact in my room I had no insects at all. When taking a trip in the bus down to the beach, I noticed this hotel with a wonderful frontage of hollyhocks, high 6-foot high English type hollyhocks in this tropical garden, so I just had to go back and photograph and film these. I would have liked to have found a guide to take me out into the desert and look at the actual wildlife. I'd like to have seen snakes, scorpions and so on, but it would seem that that's only possible on a week or a much more expensive trip called a safari. You cannot just find somebody who will take you out locally, or at least I haven't done at this stage. During my stay there I only saw 2 or 3 little butterflies. One looked like a monarch, and then there was this rather nice pretty little yellow butterfly that landed nearby, and there were some white ones as well. When booking in at the hotel, I think it's important to choose the bedroom you want, in that whether you want noise at night or not. You could have a bedroom facing the pool area, which also meant noise from the bar. I preferred to have one facing the gardens on the outside. As an artist and explorer, I had hoped to find some older parts of the villages and local towns, but in fact everything seemed to either be new build or rebuild, and it was very hard to find any old streets or markets in that way, so there was no real history or culture that one could find that way. Even my so-called trip to the camels and the Bedouins turned out to be a few jerry-built buildings in the desert, not tents or anything as romantic as that. Still, nonetheless, it's still very attractive, wonderful coastline, beautiful beaches, very clean, and of course wonderful swimming and snorkeling. Of course, if you wanted to pay more, you could do so, and you could have slightly better facilities. You could be closer to the beach, or you could have a water park and so on, possibly even slightly better food. But as I say, for a budget all-in holiday, I couldn't complain at what I'd got. The choice of materials and equipment to take abroad I've dealt with in other films, but I will mention it now again. Obviously my little easel is very useful, a small three-legged stool, or a stool to sit on, but you've got to be very light in the amount you take. We were only allowed 20 kgs to take on the flight, and 5 for hand luggage, which isn't very much. So my watercolours, my pastels, and the basic equipment that goes with those to use water with pastels was very handy and very light, plus a little Ongris pastel pad. I carry cameras with me almost constantly, especially away on a trip like this, and of course you never know when you're going to find wonderful shots which you can use at home and paint from. I mean, these hollyhocks for instance are a good example. Even my students are finding some of these useful to paint from. I have produced a whole film dedicated to this trip and diving in the Red Sea, and all to do with the course and how usefully helped me. So I won't take up too much of this film with this, but I will give you a nice section, a nice selection from that film to show you what it is like diving in these waters and the wonderful scenery, fish, animals that are down there. You really must do it if you go.
Hi, my name is Yusri. I'm a master scuba diver trainer in Egypt. And then I like to help all the people, even handicapped people, or if anyone he cannot drive or he not try the waters. But sometimes when I see any persons he can jump in the water and he can swim, I can understand he can do it a lot. Like for example, so when I meet Peter, this was a scuba dive, but this from first day I saw him in the water. He was amazing. He was like. He have a problem in his back.
I pay him a lot for this. I pay him a lot to say this, you know.
He made me quite. I mean, you know, it's no problem about payment, but he make me like. I was impressed how he been underwater. He been. When he swam. He's really very old, like what you see, but but he was excellent. This is from my eye to saw him when he swam. I was asking him come to try to scuba, then he been with me underwater like a fish, and that's the reason I start with him the open water. Then he's really finished the open water course. It was really excellent, and even jump to the advance. He make a deep dive and drift dive. He make a pool dive. He was amazing. I mean, underwater. Then it's really I was so happy to help Peter, and I hope to help anyone he cannot.
That's good, yeah.
He tried to dive, then I make him just happy, and he can do more than other people, normal people can do it. This for me, I am so happy then.
It's great, no, it's fantastic, and we've become good friends, and I hope I come back to swim with him again.
I hope
he visits me in England as well. And now we go on with the film, and I will show you now some film from Bruce Lee with the sharks, which is fantastic, and then we'll go on to the film right the way through my stay here from doing snorkel and doing scuba, and you can see the sort of things that we show here, the fish, the underwater life, how we've had some fun, and the whole project. So I hope you enjoyed this film with us.
But you impress us too, because you was amazing too, even in the surface or underwater, because you are so clever, then you know what you know how to do what you want. Even you, I see you when you are walking, you are very tired. I see you cannot do many things, but you try and you did it, and this make me so happy.
But you helped me do this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
حد معاه لاف جاكيت حلو. حد معاه لاف جاكيت. لاف جاكيت.
خلاص حاجة محددة. تعمل ايه؟ ده فيديو.
في واحد هو طلب مني دلوقتي
تمام. هو
طلب شوربة سفود والسمك مشوي.
ده بيطلع معاه البرنس. So your name is John? Katoon. And I'm Peter. Yeah. And they very kindly invited me to join you for dinner in the gallery here.
بس جندوفلي لا، حط له هو جندوفلي عادي براحته خلاص بالرمله ياكل. قشطه ماشي. العين ده بتبقى العين دي يا عم.
Yusri very kindly invited me to come and meet his family in Cairo. He has a home there, and of course the culture is very, very different, and it was fascinating to go. He was going to travel by bus, so we bought tickets between us, and the adventure started.
This is not a boat accident. It wasn't any propeller. It wasn't Jack the Ripper.
All right, fellas, let's cut this ugly son of a bitch down before it stinks up the whole island. Harv, you and Carl take it out to bar and dump it in the truck.
تعدى على بنها. القاهرة.
You see two persons talking together in the middle of the street. You see?
Yes, good.
Egypt. Pyramida Street.
No crash helmet.
Oh, of course there are so many wonderful places to visit in Egypt, and I only had 2 weeks to do it in, but I just had to get to Cairo. It didn't cost me too much, and of course I had my own personal guides as well, so it was nice just to go about individually. But such wonders! I never expected the size and scale of these things, I must admit. For those of you with mobility problems, on the whole it wasn't too bad, because even a site like this you could hire a horse and carriage to take you about, and you didn't have to walk too far. Probably the biggest problem was the museum, where there was a lot of standing and walking to do, and that was a problem for me. Luckily I had my seat walking stick, so I could sit down when I required.
You are the temple of the King Cheops. He come to here with your wife to pray here and he was the shop. This stone he come from Luxor and Aswan by the big boat with a big man about the river Nile, because before high dam building the river Nile still come to here 1 month every year. Enslaved people no come to here just for the king and the family for the king. All these stone from Luxor and Aswan is it alabaster stone and basalt stone, and your legs downstairs is it granite stone. You are in Sphinx. Is the guard of the village, is work under the King Cheops. Napoleon Bonaparte is beaten before about 600 years just to get the news and the mustache. Put it in museum in Paris, in a grass city. Here a man, face a feminine, body by the line. Here the Sphinx. The stone is one piece, 50 meters long, 20 meters high. You are already here, the Great Pyramid, Cheops, is a big pyramid here. His grandfather, second pyramid father, third pyramid is its son. Is it dynasty 4. The work here before 5,000 in half years, one family. When you go to inside the big pyramid, 150 meters, like you're here, but is empty, 8 room. The government opened just 2 room, 1 room for the king, 1 room for the queen. And no mumia, no guard here. Here is empty, like I will tell you. The mumia and the gold in Museum in Tahrir in downtown in Cairo. And is it the white color here? It is the some boat. Inside you can see the boat that brings the people from Luxor and Aswan to work here. Is it marmar stone? The stone of pyramid come from two places, Luxor in Egypt and from Torah City in South Cairo. Thanks.
And of course it's almost impossible not to be a little tongue-in-cheek and do the tourist things, do the tourist route, even lay in the tomb of the king. Here we are in the actual burial chamber.
صح؟
عندك حسن عاشر أول واحد. أول واحد.
ارفع كده دور. امسك ايه بيدك امسك ايه.
As I say, I was filming and photographing all the way through the trip, as I nearly always have a camera with me in life, and I knew I was wanted to paint an archetype scene, and this seemed to be the archetype scene I was looking for, with the pyramids in line and these various camels and so on. I also managed to take a few camels from other scenes to add to the composition. Now, let's go and paint that composition for you and show you how it was done.
ايه؟ تتصور كده عشان يجي وراك الهرم.
ماشي، ما هقول لك هنعمل الكريتا.
انت قصدك انت تيجي على الجنب.
في ضرب من الصبح.
لا بس
ضرب عن ضرب.
ضرب عن ضرب كمان ده بيأكل.
ماشي عملوهم عرض قدامك.